Welcome to Below the 49th, the perspective on my neighbor to the south below the 49th. I'm Michael A. Charbon. Hey, and a special welcome to our new listeners on Spotify and other podcast platforms. Welcome, you guys. Today's title, Bipartisan Filibustering. Bipartisanism is when two parties who oppose each other's position find common ground to work together. You know, like politics. While filibustering is a tactic used in the Senate, generally by a minority, to block the majority's passage of a bill. Obstruction, kind of like, the real definition of politics. We hear those two words ad nauseum from politicians and pundits alike. When the current administration faced the realization that the Senate was at stalemate of 50 votes each, it put many of their perceived controversial left-leaning bills in jeopardy. Bills like immigration reform, federal voting reform, H.R. 1, the multi-trillion-dollar spending plans, funding of Obamacare, a quick path for citizenship for DACA, the canceling of all student debt, and even the suggestion of amnesty for 11 million illegals and the additional 2 million bonus from the current brilliant open border policy. And that'll go over well in Florida and Texas. So the talk of redistribution of wealth, where selective government business investments are now based on color and race, is a complete departure from what was formerly thought of as discrimination, but now as excused as selective affirmative action discrimination. The 1619 Project, the critical race theory, again, pile on top of these sentiments of racial discontent. And this is an issue that crosses all racial barriers. These bills, amendments, and executive orders could take America on a track of radical social re-engineering. For some Americans, fundamentally threatening their cultural beliefs and an American principle of democracy. So who are the political visionaries steering America through these challenging, difficult, and sensitive times of potential radical change? Well, people like the House Majority Leader, an 82-year-old guy named Steny Hoyer, who started in politics as a Maryland senator in 1967, under Lyndon B. Johnson. The Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, an 81-year-old California-based grandmother, surviving on the Beltway for 33 years since the Reagan years of 1987. The Senate, the slower approver of bills, and what some suggest is the chamber of sober second thought, as long as they can stay awake, does not have a definitive majority. The leadership is split by two parties. Chuck Schumer, 70, from New York, entered politics in 1987. Mitch McConnell, 79, from Louisville, Kentucky, has been an assistant attorney general, judge, and senator since 1975. That was the Gerald Ford presidency. But thank goodness for context, the Oval Office has a 78-year-old who started in 1973. That was under the Nixon administration, just saying. So, the House, Senate, and Oval Office septuagenarians and octogenarians are the current brain trust to engineer a new social culture to modernize and lead the U.S. into the solar electrified autonomous artificial intelligence, let's colonize Mars, UFOs do exist, kinda, 21st century. It sounds like a sci-fi horror script, From the rub A535 smelling walkers, these gray rinse legions will lead 350 million to the future. This says billionaires take joyrides on their rockets to space, men are having babies, and the current Gen Zs are oversensitive to everything all the time, feeling, I'm just so hypersensitive. The beauty of American politics, though, is that the two houses of Congress have an equal but different role. As of late, there was serious talk about potentially eliminating or carving out an exception to the blocking tactic of the filibuster by a minority, so the majority can force some of their current gems through, like, quick. Here's where the bipartisan filibustering comes in. Some voters perceive that radical segments of the social squad have moved the current administration farther to the left than what they presented in the election pitch. Bring us all together and build back better, kinda. Problem is, midterm elections, they allow voters to revise their opinion of which party they want to lead the country. See, the radical socialist cultural revolutionists, or revisionists as they would call themselves, these pilots have created a large group of disgruntled voters, where there is real potential for the reversal of positions in Congress with the midterm results. The biggest line is that the Blue Party just might need to use the filibuster to impede a potential majority backlash, maybe even resulting in a lame duck presidency. As of late, there's a big 911 push to pass the multi-trillion-dollar Infrastructure Investment Job Act. What a bill. On a bipartisan basis, of course. There's those wonderful words. The initial proposed $6 trillion bill was filled with little hidden gems that had nothing to do with infrastructure, roads, and transportation, and more to do with advancing partisan social reforming agendas. It currently sits at 2,700 pages and a quarter of the original cost. Poor little Mayor Pete got his big rig truck downsized to a Walmart toy. The one sticking point, though, is as many of these things that are political are, is that pesky question of how the heck are you going to pay for this? You just tax the rich, But I'm filibustering here, I think. Ironically, half the House, they're currently on summer vacation. The Senate will not hear the bill anytime soon, as they got to go on break too. Got to have your rest. And it only takes one blue senator to defect to the red side, and the whole darn thing blows up. What a political bipartisan accomplishment, don't you think? But I believe the real bomb, you ready for this? The real bomb's coming in the midterms. As politicians return to their constituencies this summer, they will hear an earful. An earful about no tax increases, close the ruddy border, deal with the illegals, stop the federal cash cow overfunding, take critical race theory out of the curriculum and put kids back in school, fund the frickin' police, and for Christmas' sake, bring back law and order. Polls are showing an 18% drop in the ruling party's favorability, and there is a huge potential that not only the House but the Senate could fall as well, leaving the Oval Office as a quacker going into 2024. Karma's a great thing, as the pendulum of ridiculousness wokeism may just swing to the other side. So, when talks of eliminating the filibuster come up again, remember, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, especially for bipartisan filibustering of a lame duck. I sound like the penguin. Finally, please click and share, and if you do so, kindly subscribe. And for those listening to the audio version, remember to subscribe to Spotify or wherever you get your fantastic podcasts. If you leave a comment, I try to answer everyone, and I thank you for those considerations. And until next time, God bless and stay safe, folks. I'm Michael A. Charbon for Below the 49th.